Clingan headed to the Portland Trailblazers. An elite rim protector, the pride of Bristol, Connecticut, helping UConn win back-to-back national championships, led this year's NCAA tournament with 19 blocks. He recorded a career-high 8 blocks along with 14 points, 14 rebounds against Northwestern in the second round of the Big Dance. UConn head coach Dan Hurley said, quote, "You see he's a game changer with what he creates for us on offense, how he spooks people at the rim, the rebounding presence, the fire, and the life that he shows up with every day." Bring in Matt Norlander here, who has watched Donovan Clingan as a freshman and now a lottery pick here, going to the Portland Trailblazers, 7th overall. You know I love Clingan. You love Clingan. What are the Trailblazers getting?
They're getting a super intriguing big. Hakeem, right off the jump, I'm giving a shout to our own Kyle Boone, who has held firm and steady for weeks that Clingan would be 7th to Portland. That wound up being true. Shouts to you, Kyle Boone. What's interesting about this is I know that Portland was also quite taken with Zach Edey. However, that's not going to play out for a number of reasons here. They traded away the 14th pick. And, of course, Edey, in every single metric, and even when they played head-to-head, outplayed Clingan. But it's because of Clingan's ability in drop coverage, what he can do there, the lob threat. He doesn't shoot it. He's not going to be asked or tasked with being a perimeter shooter initially, but his athleticism and what he can bring to a team, I think he's a great, and I mean great, passing big as he enters the league as a prospect here. Clingan's camp knew that it was never going to fall worse than 7th, but we're talking about a prospect that at some point had some intrigue with Atlanta at #1, and then it's a lot of team need here. He does fit a need with Portland, and I think he's got a wonderful chance of stepping in and being a huge impact player. Not bad for a young man who opted to stay home, play at Bristol Central High School. And then, guys, I remember going to a UConn practice the October before his freshman season. And I knew a little bit about Clingan, but not a ton. At that practice that day, at the start of it, Dan Hurley said, yeah, with Clingan here, we hope that we can maybe get him 10 minutes to give Adama Sanogo a breather for us. And then over the next 90 minutes, just on that practice, I got lucky that day. He looked like the best player on the team. So it is no shock 2 years later, after a 2-time national champion, big man gets it done, that he goes 7th to Portland. That's a big get for the Blazers.
Clingan headed to the Pacific Northwest. Your grade for this is what?
This is an A for Portland. This is a best case scenario. I mean, there was real traction for him going #1. There was talk early on he could go #2. They had all these teams, Memphis, Chicago, OKC, who were all trying to trade up to get him. It looked less and less likely that Portland would be able to get him to fall all the way to 7. Now they have their center of the future. We are talking about a huge physical presence in the rim, a defensive monster with his shot blocking, with his timing, and what we don't talk enough about is the offensive potential. At his size, to be able to dribble, to make slip passes and backdoor passes off the dribble when you're 7'2", and I think he's got some long-term shooting potential. We're a couple years away from that, but he's got real touch, and I think he's got a chance to stretch the floor. So this is a home run for Portland.
And even if the perimeter shooting is a work in progress, you still have to guard him out to the three-point line because he can put it on the floor, because he can pass out of it. So, you know, he makes you honor him out to that line already. The shooting, he has the potential for it, and I agree. I think it'll come. This is brilliant by Portland. There had been talks for weeks that if you wanted to get Donovan Clingan, you have to go up to 3 or 5 or maybe even 6. My hometown Grizzlies, it had been reported they had prioritized Clingan and were willing to maybe go up to 3, 5, or 6. Obviously, when it got to 7, you're probably not doing a deal with Portland because a lot of the intel was that the Blazers had prioritized him as well. So now you wonder 2 questions with the Grizzlies. What do you do now at 9? Do you move out of it? And B, if the Blazers just took Donovan Clingan, is DeAndre Ayton now available? Maybe he's your center of the future in Memphis.
Avery, they need to look at Dan Hurley's offense and say, what should we do with Clingan? And that lob to the rim, that's what he's going to do. He's a rim runner, he's a rim protector.
Yeah, and I love his upside. Back in 2010, when I was hired as the New Jersey Nets coach before they moved to Brooklyn, I had a young man by the name of Brook Lopez. And you look at where Brook was, you know, 14 years ago, where Clingan is. Brook wasn't as good defensively, but offensively, the same tools. And Brook went from the Nets to Milwaukee and started knocking down the three-point shot. I don't know if Clingan will ever be as good a three-point shooter as Brook Lopez, but he has that potential. And here's what I want to say, guys. I don't want to have to pull out a tissue right now. But you know who's happy? His mom up in heaven, Perini Clingan, who went to the same high school, and he dedicates his life and his basketball on the court to his mom. And man, I saw the story about his mom, and it really touched me. And I know she's really happy, smiling down on me.
It really is a sweet story, and if you saw it at the draft, he had a sweet moment with his father there. This is obviously an emotional night for them, and you know, on some level, a dream come true.
And the family picture sewn into the inside of his sports coat in the suit tonight.
Yeah, Stacey died of breast cancer in 2018, playing in her honor every time he steps on the floor, and now he's going to go play for Chauncey Billups in Portland. What a get for the Trailblazers.